So, I am very excited to announce that there is a real chance in this lifetime and that I could move my personal TBR list from 11K to 10K. Um, so if you do not know my book journey for this year, which I don't know why you would, but I made a few New Year's resolutions and I set a yearly reading goal, which I have been setting reading goals since I think 2019. Prior to that, I was still reading like crazy. I just wasn't documenting it or like setting goals. I was just reading whatever. And however much I read, I read. And so in 2019, I started actually keeping track and all that kind of stuff. And each year, I have gotten a little bit bolder, a little bit more aware of my reading capability and my reading strength. So this year, my goal in 2025 is to read 181 books. I know it's a weird number, but I had like two different polls going on and I forgot about one. And then I was like, I have to factor that one into the other poll that I did about setting my reading goal. And so that's the reason it's like a really weird number. But anyway, so my New Year's resolution was to not add anything to my TBR list. Now, I kind of, sort of failed one day when I was at this pop up art gallery and one of the other artists that was there like suggested a book to me and I added it. So like that is literally the only time this entire year that I have actually added to my TBR list. And it was one book, just one book. And so I did kind of slip, but we all have our times. Anyway, so with that, uh, I have been trying to actually read books that are on my TBR list. I have not taken anything off. I have went through, and yes, there are some problematic authors, some problematic text, but for the most part, I have realized that none of it is to the point where um, I morally would feel like wrong reading it. It's the thing of like, I kind of have to read it for reconnaissance reasons at this point. And so, yeah, like, so I haven't really taken anything off my TBR list. Uh, and I'm trying not to add anymore. So I am just trying to whittle that list down. It has been sitting at 11K for a really, really long time, but I'm trying to get it down. I'm actively doing it. With my goal this year, I actually might succeed, but it's the thing of reading books that are on the TBR list because I read a lot of books. Not a lot of them are just, already on the list. I'll just go to the library, pick up a book that I've never even heard of, and that's real and that's a thing. Now, the other part to this is that since I haven't been able to add to either one of my TBR lists, so I haven't. Well, okay. I also had a relapse with my TBR list on Libby, and so yeah, just I'm being very honest with y'all. I have my relapses, but I believe it was like three books that I added and it was so accidental. Like I saw the titles and I was like, "Oh, let me just add it." And then I was like, as soon as I got done with like the third one, I was gonna add a fourth one. I was like, "No, no, no, stop! What are you doing?" Like my brain finally registered what I was doing, and so it's just like, "Oh, dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it." So yeah, so yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, I have been doing good though. I didn't get until literally July is when both of these events happened. So and I'm monitoring myself a little bit more and actively trying not to add anything. But I'm really excited. I am so excited. I hit 100 books a few days ago, like a week ago. Time doesn't exist anymore in my world. But I hit 100 books for this year, so really, really, really excited about like almost reaching my goal for this year. Even with me having a really, really difficult year, um, like going through a really weird romantic situation, the passing of my father, like a lot has happened, and I am still persevering and getting through. With the passing of my father, I did take some time off of reading. Uh, I usually only take like a 2 day break, just so I don't fall into like a reading slump. And I wind up having to take 3 full days off because I just didn't feel like picking up a single damn book. I didn't feel like listening to an audiobook. I didn't feel like even reading a kid's book. Nothing was appealing to me. Um and lately I have been reading mostly like comic books and poetry and children's books because I'm still not to the point of like wanting to read something that's heavy, but I have been just getting slowly back into the groove of things, even with like such a tragedy that has happened. And, seeing that my work is paying off of, you know, I'm not forcing myself. That's the reason I can say that because taking 3 days off is a big thing for me. Like 2 days I start getting a little itchy if I ain't read a book. And so I know that I really did take time with 3 full days of just no kind of consumption of any kind of book. I honestly wasn't even consuming like a lot of media around that time either. So I just needed to be with myself, and to process everything. And so, yeah, I'm just really super excited about like how far I've come reading wise. And I felt really, really good when I went to a book club meeting, at one of the private libraries that's around the city. And they have a banned book club. Uh, yeah, they have a banned book club. And the book that decided to go to, was Fahrenheit 451, and that is because I read Fahrenheit 451 for the first time this year, and I read it a few months ago, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go. Since I already read the book, I know what it's about. I have like a good grasp and understanding of it. It was such a delightful conversation. And a lot of people opened my eyes to a few things. So I'm going to, if you've never read Fahrenheit 451, what I might say might confuse you and it might spoil something. So, huge spoiler of what I'm going to say. But in the book, we are told as a reader through Maytag, which is the character that is being followed. And I kept picturing a dishwasher, dead ass, whenever time I saw his name. So if you also are, don't feel weird. I also pictured a fucking washing machine, a dishwasher, literally every kitchen appliance every time I saw that man's name. But anyway, so we're following him, and he's a firefighter, but fire no, 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 no. He's a fireman. So firemen in this time frame do not put out fires; they set fires. And they have told us that all the houses are fireproof. And then somebody pointed out, it was like, I don't think them houses are fireproof. I think it was just a really good propaganda campaign to make everybody think that they are safe when the fires happen. And I was sitting here like mind blown, mind absolutely blown. I was like, what if What if we are being lied to by the by the narrator, because he'd have been lied to? Oh, it's like liception. It was a really good, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was a really good conversation. There was stuff in the book that people pointed out that I just wouldn't have like noticed or been familiar with. And even with me have read a lot of dystopian books, for some odd reason I don't ever compare them. Like, I feel like they're their own form of hell and distress. And somebody just pointed out, was like trying to compare 1984, I want to say that's right, and Brave New World and Fahrenheit 451. I don't know why. I've read all three of those books, and I would have never thought to compare them. And I couldn't tell you why. But this is the reason I love book clubs. Like, there are so many perspectives out there that, you're bound to be aware of something. And one of the other parts of the discussion was Maytag's wife. So, I guess this is a trigger warning and a spoiler. Like, a trigger warning and a spoiler. He walks in to his house and he finds her, she is OD'd on her sleeping medication. And he calls who he needs to call. Her stomach is pumped. And the people that are doing this are like, yeah, this happens almost every day. Like, we do this round the clock almost. Like, you're not special. And, that's his wife. He's like, like, will she be okay? All this other type of stuff. And they just sit there smoking their cigarettes like, bro, she fine. Like, this is like our third one today, and we got like 12 more. So, like, and it's like, and he's upset about it because they're making it seem so casual, but it is casual to them. That's their job. But what was the thing was how they pointed out how she kept taking the pills. And one person was like, has the TV, because okay, so people can read in Fahrenheit 451. I was under the impression that nobody could fucking read. But they can read, and they do have like things that they can read. Like, they have their job handbooks and stuff. Like, they can read, and they have reading material. They even have like little scripts that they read when you are a part of this TV program. And so, cause I just dead ass thought nobody could read. I thought it was just fully against the law to like know how to fucking read. But no, because you got to read street signs and shit. So yeah, they're just very limited on what they can read and what qualifies as reading material, and it can't be too thick. It's like size, length, like it's a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, that sounds horrible out of context. Please, no one take that out of context. Anyway, so one person was like, she has consumed so much TV and at a rapid pace that her brain just can't even process the actions that she has done. It's like, it's kind of unfortunately like how people think, and I say think because it's not, to my knowledge at the moment, it's not scientifically proven or anything, but how people think that TikTok is affecting people's brains, where it has to be something that's very short, very to the point, or it's too long and boring. And so it's messed with her brain, where she just forgets that she's already took the medicine. And then someone else pointed out, was like, it could be that she is taking them because it was another thing of like, she has forgotten that she is taking them just because she's just so out of it already. Like the pills and made her so out of it that she just forgot that she took it. And then I threw out the thing of maybe she just has ADHD. Because if you do have ADHD, you can forget a lot of stuff. And that kind of made people laugh. Because it's like to think about all the stuff in this book and then to think about, yeah, people in this world probably still would have the same neurodivergent issues that we do today. So it's like that was funny that to think about that she just might it could be, but I also pointed out that it could be either one of those things. I think the author left that very vague so you could write your own narrative to what led to that particular situation. And I think that's fun. I think that when authors are vague about certain details, now there are some times where I'm like, you could give us some goddamn context, but there's some stuff where it's just like if it's vague and it's up for interpretation, it's fun. It just makes book clubs, your summaries, or if you're not in all that, just a one-on-one mentally about how the book goes and flip it over in your head. Because I was just sitting here and had read the book, and but they have read so many books that I've read, and I've been so like fascinated with it that I can now go and talk to people that have read all these different books. Because I have this year my goal had, well, my, I guess, theme, my personal theme has been classics. Last year it was books that got turned into movies, and I mean, to be honest, those things kind of sort of go hand in hand, but not really. Like Life of Pi is not considered a classic. I mean, it's a modern day classic, but it got turned into a movie. And then yeah, so, and like Brokeback Mountain, like I read Brokeback Mountain last year. Oh my god. I've never watched a movie, so the book was just all new to me. I kind of knew the concept of Brokeback Mountain, but like when I tell you I was crying, I was crying. And I was reading it. I was listening to this book at work. So it made it like really like 100% worse. Because I'm like crying and people are like looking at me and I'm just like, no, it's the book. It's the book. Like you got to try to explain it to somebody. Um, the problems of being an audiobook listener. I feel like that is an entirely different topic all of its own. Like, to be an audiobook listener in the world and you are like laughing and crying and gritting from ear to ear, and it's like I have a mask on for the most part when I'm not in my crib, so people can't see it, but people see the tears. Like people can't really see the smile. And I could kind of play off like a laugh as a cough, but it's not all the time. So yeah, but anyway, I absolutely am very excited for this reading journey this year. I have met and connected with so many different amazing people through the power of books, and I have also just really challenged myself in reading books that have been on my TBR list for so long. There's so many classics on there. And I am finally, like, taking the bull by the horns and doing something that I've been putting off for way too long. Because why am I putting it off? I read Moby Dick. I got to reread. Uh, Goodness, what's the name of it? Frankenstein. I read it when I was in high school, and I deeply enjoyed that book when I was in high school. But that's also another thing that I've been doing is going back and reading books that I've read before my age now. Like, I'm 30. I turned 30 this year. And so now going back and re-listening or rereading, just depending, on books that I read before I was 30 has been such an eye-opening experience. Like, there's some stuff where I read when I was in like high school and I enjoyed, and I'm reading it now as a 30-year-old, and I'm like, girl, run. like, I'm just like, oh my God, what was wrong with my brain? So that has also been a fun little journey for me, is to go back and reread some stuff that I have read already, and I am now seeing it with a more developed brain and a more and more life behind me and way more gray hair than I had before now. And so it's just been fun. Like, I reread The Secret Life of Bees. I read that for the first time when I was in, I think, middle school, maybe high school, maybe. Listen, I'd have been out of high school for an actual decade, so I don't fucking know anymore. I read it beforehand and I enjoyed it. I deeply did, and I reread it and I still actually enjoyed it. It's way more modern than what I thought. And then I read, I think that was last year though. But I finally actually read The Diary of a Young Girl, Anne Frank's diary. And I'm glad I didn't read that when I was younger. I wouldn't have got it. I wouldn't have understood it. And then, just like Fahrenheit 451, a lot of people's like, oh, I read that in 8th grade, I read that in 9th grade, I read that in like 10th grade. I wanna appreciate that damn book in 9th, 10th grade. I can tell you that right now. I know who I was. I was an avid reader, and I absolutely devoured books. Um, Honestly, I devour books more now than I did back then, but I wouldn't have appreciated them damn books, and I'm so glad I read them when I was older, so I could get the gravity of them, like really fully understand what was going on. But yeah, so those are my reading things that I'm doing this year, going back and rereading some stuff. Before I'm trying to reread some stuff before 25, but just some stuff I just. But going back and reading books now as a 30-year-old, reading the classics finally, finally reading the classics, and then whittling down my TBR list. Those are my three goals, bookish goals for 2025. Um, I know this video should have been put out in like January or whatever, but it's like better late than never. Anyway, bye y'all.